Hi, thanks for joining me today for the Articulate Book Club. Originally, I was going to talk about Mondrian, but while I was researching him, I found another book that I'd like to share with you. It's called Legendary Artists and the Clothes They Wore. It's about not just the clothes they wore and their style, but also clothes they inspired. And I'll just show you a few things. This first section is on Basquiat, and it talks a lot about how his fashion was bold and the paintings were bold as well. Another thing about this I really liked was showing his work on the on the actual catwalk, how it was inspired. You can see this gown was inspired by this painting. There are sections that deal with various things. For instance, this one is about signature hairstyles. I'll show you another page of that. Various artists and their signature hairstyles. There's a section on signature suits. And lastly, I'm going to show you what inspired me to do this. There's a section on Mondrian, and it talks about how he really pared down his clothing, sometimes getting rid of too much, but he favored simple suits and ties. And you see how that was reflected in his later works. And this is some fashion from 1965 that was Mondrian inspired, actually kind of very directly. You can see it's almost an imitation. And while I was looking at that book, I was reminded of a book I read a few years ago called Women in Clothes. And it was inspired by a woman who was realizing she really didn't quite know how to dress herself to get the effect she wanted. And so she sent out this survey to women asking them about their clothes. And this is how this book came about. One of the things I really like is that it shows collections of women's clothing. These are dress sets, so it's a dress with a coat. And you'll see here too, I'll show you a few others, and you see the thing I think is interesting is how, I don't know if you're like me, but if I find something I like, I stick with it and maybe get the same thing in several colors. It also, there's a segment here on rings and women's rings. There's a nice story here about this woman's who wears her grandmother's engagement ring that was originally found in a cereal box, which I love that. And there's a lot of stories like that. There's also just some straightforward stories without illustrations. There's one called The Pink Purse about a woman who worked in fashion as an intern that coveted this pink Marc Jacobs purse that she ended up getting. But the story about that and what happens. Here's another collection that I like. And this is the very same dress this woman had made with different patterns of cloth. And in addition to that, there are things about the fashion industry, including fashion workers in other countries. So if you like fashion, and you're interested in fashion and art and how those things intermingle, these two books would be on our shelves right now. You can place holds and pick them up curbside. And again, the titles are Women in Clothes and Legendary Artists and the Clothes They Wore. Thanks for joining me today, and join me for Mondrian coming soon.